Hey everybody, and welcome into the Weekly Recharge. I'm Griffin.
And I'm John.
And as always, we've got a lot to cover with you today, including big time news for Pedego as they have a new ownership group.
The times they are changing.
That's right. And then another major US city is pushing for slower e-bike speeds.
Oh, man.
I know, right? And then John and I are going to play a game of this or that, helping people pick between two e-bikes.
Stick around to see if anything you're interested in is covered on this week's episode of the Weekly Recharge.
All right, kicking the news off with our leading headline here that brick and mortar e-bike brand Pedego was bought by an ownership group behind Urtopia. So this is kind of breaking news. We were just learning this prior to filming. So if we get any of the details, wrong, bear with us a little bit here. But from what we can tell, the ownership group that now owns Pedego has been renamed New Pedego Holdings, with Pedego CEO Larry Pizzi still at the helm. Now, earlier this spring, an investor group called Verlinvest that had held the majority share in Pedego decided to back out. Larry Pizzi explored deals with 4 potential buyers before finalizing the purchase with the same group that's also behind Urtopia. So important distinction. Urtopia is not buying Pedego. They're still separate companies, just a similar group behind both brands now. So Pedego found that Urtopia's products sold actually really well with their younger riders, which complemented their own focus on the older crowd. They had been selling them actually in 58 different Pedego dealers already, so they've had good success with Urtopia products. Mm-hmm. And according to bicycle retailer, Pizzi said that Urtopia will provide engineering and supply chain efficiencies and will allow Pedego's licensed retailers to access high-tech models that complement Pedego's existing product line. The partnership will also create engineering and supply chain efficiencies that will benefit both Pedego and Urtopia branded e-bikes. So Urtopia bikes will continue to be sold by other dealers in both the US and Europe, as well as via the company's website. Pedego stores will sell e-bikes under their own label, Urtopia's name, and from a few other brands as they work to expand back to their pandemic era size and beyond. So this was pretty notable. At one point, Pedego had the most, or the largest amount of brick and mortar retailers of any dedicated e-bike brand, totaling 220 according to reports. Yep. That number has dwindled since, as a lot of brands have been struggling over the last couple of years or so. But they do have big aspirations with this partnership moving forward, that they can go back to expansion. I believe they had a goal of like 500 over the next few years. So big news for Pedego. It'll be interesting to kind of see how that affects their lineup and stuff. They haven't had new models in a while, but now they greater access to supply chain efficiencies. Interesting to see just how this works out for everybody involved moving forward.
Agreed. Yeah. I mean, we've really enjoyed the Urtopia products that we've tested, and it makes a lot of sense that those are appealing to a younger crowd. So pretty cool.
For sure.
But anyway, moving on. So there's a recall from Trek on 68,000 bikes. These are analog bikes, as far as I understand, with possible coaster brake issues. So they are or were sold under both the Trek and Electra labels, and this also includes some replacement rear wheels as well. So that was 68,000 in the US, but then there are also 6,820 bikes that were sold in Canada that are being recalled. And this recall is preventative, so there have not actually been any reported injuries, at least at this point in time. So Trek released a statement about the recall, saying that basically the internal surfaces of the brake assembly were not properly lubricated, so the brakes can wear too fast, they can become damaged, and then in severe cases that could cause a rider to lose control of the bike and fall. So the affected bikes were sold through both online and brick and mortar stores between August of 2023 and September of this year. And there were 13 color options covered that you can check out more detail about. The bikes cost between $300 and $660, while the wheels were between $66 and $77. So if you have one of the recalled bikes, and we'll actually leave a link in the description to an online tool that you can use to look up whether your bike is affected or not. Trek says do not use it, and instead contact an authorized dealer to either get a repair or a replacement wheel for free, and then they'll also give you a $20 in-store credit for Trek or Trek-owned merch. And then just as kind of an initial way to determine whether your bike is affected or not, you can look at the number on the bottom, under the bottom bracket, and that should start with the letters WTU. So always good to see, brands responding this way. Glad that there are not any reported injuries so far. So yeah, if you or anyone has a potential bike with this issue, be sure to check that out.
Absolutely. For our next story here, so 3D printing technology company Carbon closes on $60 million of funding. So this is the most recent round of funding, bringing their total to $680 million of investment. Bicycle retailer says this puts their valuation at $2.4 billion. So Carbon is the company behind, right? So Carbon is the company behind most of the 3D printed saddles and helmets in the industry, having worked with brands like Trek, Specialized, Physic, Cell Italia, and many others. They're also printing grips, chamois pads, footwear, and they work outside of cycling too, making Adidas running shoes and other gear for the likes of Riddle and Rawlings. So big name in 3D printing. Now the company was founded back in 2013, and Carbon hitting that 2.4 billion valuation is a pretty clear sign of how fast 3D printing tech is scaling in the bike world and beyond. Just kind of like curious, like from our audience, have you tried any of the 3D printed tech out there? If you have, let us know what you think about it. I know I've actually looked at one of those physics saddles before. That I've tested a couple of like 3D printed ones. They seem really great, and I hear great things. Lightweight, but still like supportive and comfortable. It's usually a little bit pricier tech, but I'm just kind of curious, what everyone else's experience is like with 3D stuff like this.
We live in the future, Griffin. It's wild.
We sure do.
3D print, whatever. Anyway, our next story is about a couple of e-bike share companies in the Washington, D.C. area, Lime and Vio. They are lowering their speed limits at the request of some Washington, D.C. officials. So previously, the speed limit for shared e-bikes from these companies was 20 miles per hour, but the city had a bunch of complaints come in about riders basically speeding past pedestrians on sidewalks. But then also there was a spokesperson for the Washington, D.C. Police Department that said that Lime bikes and scooters specifically were enabling basically young criminals to get away. Not sure on the numbers of that, but that was reported. And then so the DDOT reached out to both Lime and Vio to ask them to reduce their speeds. Lime brought theirs down to 18 miles per hour. Vio originally dropped its speeds to 15 miles per hour in October, but then just bumped them back up at the beginning of November to, quote, maintain safe operations while meeting the needs of riders. And then there's another similar company called Capital Bike Share. The bikes from that company are limited to 17 miles per hour, but then some areas of the city do have a bit of a tighter restriction, areas like Chinatown and Navy Yard, and they're limiting bike speeds to 8 miles per hour to encourage both safety and good behavior. So, hopefully that 18 mile per hour, 17, 18 still works for most commuters. Obviously we want to see people being safe, but don't want to also make it inconvenient to get to work on a bike.
Yeah, 100%. I thought it was just kind of like a interesting story because, okay, it's not like officially like lowered. We're just kind of like Washington, D.C. is working with some companies on the rental stuff, lowered a little bit. One down to 15, back to 18. Is 18 versus 20 a huge difference?
Yeah.
I don't fully know, but again, it just kind of seems like we're once again seeing another city put pressure on it. And again, I just don't know if this is necessarily the solution per se. It's like some, I don't know, probably low-level vandalism or theft or something like that. They got away on one of these things, so we have to look into lowering speed limits.
For
and like, does that trickle in
yeah.
and go across the board for the city soon enough, like we saw in New York? So kind of interesting. We're going to be monitoring it. Let us know your thoughts if you think this is going to help curb crime in any way, shape, or form, or if we just need to, do a better job of informing people to be courteous on sidewalks and whatnot, and just make sure pedestrians and cyclists can all get along.
For sure. Yeah.
And then finally, a little bit of, I suppose we could say, personal news. Black Friday sales week is here. It is upon us.
Ding, ding, ding.
So we just published our Black Friday deals page on Tuesday. You can find the link down in the description. We are also going to have our Black Friday video going live as well, so keep an eye out for that one. Just wanted to let everyone know because it is the number one question we're getting right now. So in the news, yes, Black Friday alive and well, and we are covering it. I have updated that page just about every day this week, and we'll continue doing so throughout the shopping season. So if you want to see all of our picks for latest deals, check out that page, and we'll, of course, be jumping into the preview in our Deals of the Week section to come.
It is our job to help save you money.
That's right.
But one final announcement here. We got a lot of news this week. That wasn't the announcement. But so we have finally an update on Electric Bike Report t-shirts here. So t-shirts are officially on the way. We expect them to arrive in 2 to 3 weeks. And we just launched pre-orders on our website for anyone who would like to pre-order a shirt. But, as a reminder, we have a section of the show called Rider of the Week where we talk about someone who has, interacted with us. We like to pick someone every week to highlight, and that person gets a free t-shirt. So at this point in time, we are on episode 58 of the show. That means 58 of you lucky folks out there should get a t-shirt, but we also need your contact information to be able to send you one. So there's a link in the description box below where you can give us your information, let us know your t-shirt size, what episode you were featured on, and, we'll make make sure you get your shirt. But so far, we've only had a couple people respond. So yeah, be sure to check that out. But that does it for this week's news.
All right, welcome back in. It's another round of trivia. As you know, if you've been following along, John took second place out of the two of us last week, so he gets to wear
the helmet of shame.
The helmet of shame.
I feel like you should wear the orange one.
The orange one? Why?
Because
it's more.
it's orange.
Yeah,
more orange.
Either way, we'll address that later. Yeah.
So anyway, follow along with us as we jump into some trivia and let us know how you do as well.
And say hi to Christina behind the camera over there.
Everyone say hi, Christina.
What's
Hi, Christina.
up?
All right, Christina, what do we got? Question number 1.
All right, question number 1. Which e-bike component usually wears out faster due to high torque loads? A, pedals, B, chain, C, grips, or D, the saddle? Both are correct.
Bingo.
B, the chain.
Coming for you, Griffin.
All right, you can try.
It's still early, John. Whoa there.
It's like,
I'm loaded up on caffeine.
Rein
so
it
we are
in,
ready to
rein
go.
it in. You win one time, and all of a sudden.
Got to keep Griffin on his toes.
yeah, that's fair. All right, question 2.
All right, number 2. What is the biggest factor in determining an e-bike's top speed? A, the motor wattage. B, tire pressure. C, controller settings / limits. Or D, the gear ratio. Do I need to read those again?
Nope.
Okay.
I'm good.
I feel like this could be a debating one.
That's fair.
Ooh, John takes the lead.
That's right.
C, controller settings and the limits.
See, that's why I feel like we could debate this one because
Yeah.
at the same time,
It is motor power.
I was like, you gotta have the motor, you gotta have the, the horses necessary to get there. All right, that's fine.
Right.
John can have
we're
it.
the half horses or quarter horses.
John is up by 1.
Coming for you.
I overthought that one. That's my bad.
That's okay.
All right. Number 3. Which e-bike component converts battery power into power the motor can use? A, the controller. B, the crankset. C, the display. Or D, the cassette.
Those one more time.
A is the controller.
Okay, yeah.
B,
we're good.
crankset.
Sorry. Just wanted to make sure that was.
Griffin changing his answer?
Yeah.
Sorry, I was like,
He wrote down C.
no,
he
no,
wrote
no.
down C.
I got it mixed up in my head. It was I thought controller C. That's why I put C. I was like spelling the word out.
I don't know if we can count
Time
that.
out. My goodness, I know what leads to things.
Yes, the answer is A, the controller.
Very good. Okay. Mister, I already wrote my answer down and I'm showing it.
Well,
I was
you
just
gave
like-
it away when
in my
I
head,
reread
it's like
them.
controller. Controller starts with C. I was like, wait a second.
Have some more caffeine.
I'm glad you had to repeat the.
Dang it.
The
Well, as
letters
I
there.
reread them, he was like, "Oh,
was like,
okay."
whoa,
I was
whoops.
like, "Well,
Yeah.
you just gave
They
your
were the same
answer
thing.
away."
I mean, yeah, he was already showing his, which is like, I don't need to.
I'm gonna start writing the word out just to leave no doubt.
Okay.
Okay, on to number 4. What is the main advantage of torque sensors over cadence sensors? A, they increase top speed. B, they measure rider force for smoother assistance, or smoother assist, sorry. Or C, they reduce battery weight. Or D, they allow throttle-only riding. B, they measure rider force for smoother assist.
Does
Oh,
this
wait.
indicate-
Sorry. Let me erase that. And
Get out of here.
Oh, you guys are doing good this week.
yeah, these questions are easy peasy.
Oh, okay.
Then you
well,
don't overthink
I
it.
will tell Michael that they're
Yeah.
too easy.
That's right. Exactly.
Number 5. What component of an e-bike is most responsible for determining real-world range? A, motor wattage. B, battery watt hours. C, controller type. Or D, battery manufacturer. B, battery watt hours.
Although, again, we could
We could debate
this.
that one.
Yeah.
Yep, I was thinking the same thing.
Yep.
Okay, number 6. What year was Urtopia founded? A, 2018, B, 2019, C, 2022, or D, 2021? D,
Ba-boom.
2021.
Yeah.
We did our research on the
Nice.
articles we talked about in the news.
Indeed, yes.
Oh, that's true. You guys
Convenient.
were. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, final question. John still is up 1.
That's
I
right.
know.
Chance to tie him. Okay, these are really long. Which universities did Urtopia founders and engineers attend? A, Georgia Tech, University of Oxford, and UCLA. B, MIT, University of Minnesota, and Cornell. C, University of Washington and Harvard. D, University of Michigan, Duke University, and Yale.
Dun, dun, dun.
Oh, gosh, you guys are ready.
Yeah.
Yes, the answer is B.
That's right.
MIT, University of Michigan. Oh,
Got
sorry,
'em.
University of Minnesota and Cornell.
All right.
Wow, they're smart.
I present you with.
I'll wear it next week.
Okay.
I'm already getting some
I get to put
ideas.
the
I'm
winter
thinking
hat
I
back
might
on.
be making a bedazzled one.
Oh no.
I think I'm gonna like.
I do love to sparkle.
I mean, we're coming up on Thanksgiving break. I'm gonna have some
you can have some
things to do.
get some time on your hands.
We look forward to it.
Well, thanks for following along. Let us know how many you got right down in the comments below. So we're going to be starting a new section today called Other Things Electric, because we're obviously big proponents of all things EV. I mean, we talk about e-bikes all day long. I myself drive an electric car. I even swapped out my gas-powered toothbrush for an electric toothbrush. I am committed, folks, to all things electric. So we're going to be every once in a while debuting some other tech and gadgets in the electric world. John's going to be telling us about something special today. John, what do we have for our first Other Things Electric?
Well, I have a question for you first.
What you got?
Christian. Are you bored?
Maybe a little. I don't
Maybe
know.
a little. All right. Well, this right here is
Hello.
the Meepo V3 Max electric longboard.
Wow.
Get it? Board?
I see what you did there.
Thanks. Yeah.
Different board.
Anyway, so this is, of course, basically a motorized skateboard or longboard. It has dual 800-watt magnetic hub motors in these wheels. It has 4 power levels and the ability to reach a whopping 28 miles per hour.
Wow.
There's also, I mean, you saw all the electronics in here underneath. A 324 watt hour battery with an advertised range of up to 20 miles. And that comes with a 2.5 amp charger that can recharge the board in about 3 hours. It has a pretty solid construction here. This thing actually weighs about 20 pounds. There's 8 layers of maple in the deck here, and then a layer of bamboo. You've got these really solid trucks. You can see all the electronic components are protected there, and then the board actually has a 330-pound payload capacity. It measures about 38 inches long and about 9.5 inches wide. And then, of course, it has these little sort of metal bumpers on the end to just keep the board protected. It seems a lot of fun. We hopped on it a little bit around the office. I will admit that neither Griffin nor I are like great skateboarders, but
Skateboarding usually have hurt my wrist a lot in the past, but
Yeah.
this is undeniably fun. While I was never a big skateboarder, I feel like I was like the one in the friend group who wasn't.
Yeah.
And we're
Same,
all like
actually.
older now, and we all have like adult money, and all my friends who are like still in the skateboarding and stuff, they got the one wheels, they got all this other stuff. I'm gonna go like show this to them because I bet they would eat it up. This looks like a lot of fun.
Yeah, speaking of adult money, this is priced at $479, which, at least according to my research, is very good for the specs here. Comparable boards, in this price range aren't going to give you maybe as much speed or as much battery capacity, which equates to range. And other things in this price range are, potentially even are high, in this performance range are higher priced. So.
Like John said, this isn't our bread and butter per se, but we're going to be looking more into stuff like this. The construction looks really solid to me. I like how clean everything looks. I like the little detail, like giving a little grab handle through the board here was really nice
useful.
for picking this up and carrying it around. But all in all, it seems like pretty cool, pretty impressive machine.
I actually had a dream last night about this thing, and I woke up being like, oh, I'm going to take this thing over to the parking lot and try it out. So I think I'll do that after we're done filming.
Yeah, sounds like a blast. But let us know what you think about this. If you'd want to see like more gizmos and gadgets like this, skateboards, electric toothbrushes, I don't know, whatever else we'll get into. But yeah, let us know down in the comments, or you can check it out from the link down below as well.
That's right. All right, we always have a lot going on here at Electric Bike Report. So this segment of the show, we like to share a little bit about what we have going on behind the scenes. So Griffin, what's up?
Well, I'll share just a little teaser, I suppose, for right now. We did receive new product in. It is currently under embargo. It will be a new product from a pretty popular manufacturer. So just a little tease for now. Make sure you're subscribed and got the notification bell on so you can be the first to learn about it. We'd like to try to get those things, the reviews done, go along with the launch if possible. So hopefully we'll get this one knocked out in relatively short order.
All right, another part of the show that we love sharing is highlighting different locations around the country, sometimes the world, where there's e-bike friendly trails, infrastructure, that sort of thing. So actually this week is a little bit different. We're going to give a shout out to Vid Mashup for a suggestion. He left a comment, left a comment on last week's episode of the show and said, great show. As always, guys, you should check out the East Bay bike path in Rhode Island. So that is what Griffin did.
Yeah, exactly. We always love when you guys give us suggestions. So by all means, even on this episode, let us know where you want us to check out next. But did a little exploring here and turned out to be a really cool suggestion. I kind of like the vibe of this place. So the East Bay bike path, let's get into it. So this is a paved rail trail running 14 and a half-ish miles, one way from India Point Park in Providence to Independence Park in Bristol, roughly paralleling the shoreline of, I'm going to butcher this one, Narragansett Bay. Someone help me with pronunciation. I'm bad at that. So it's not the longest we've seen by any stretch, but also keep in mind Rhode Island is like 37 by 48 miles. So like 14 miles is actually a pretty significant stretch of path when you consider their square footage. So this is a multi-use paved asphalt rail trail, about 8 to 10 feet wide with a center line dividing it. It's shared by cyclists, walkers, runners, families with strollers, and more. So it is built, like I said, on a former railroad bed. It is very gentle. It's got a grade of no steeper than 3% at its steepest. Wow. So generally considered accessible for really any fitness levels. And if you're watching this podcast, you're probably an e-biker, so promise you're going to be fine. So a little bit about the history of it. So this follows the former Bristol secondary rail line of the New York, New Haven, and Hartford Railroad, which linked Providence to Bristol from the mid-1800s until passenger service ended in the 1930s, and then freight ended in the 1970s. So dormant for a little while, but conversion to a shared use path was approved in 1983, and then construction began in 87. It was completed in 4 phases, finishing up in 1992. It became Rhode Island's first multi-town bike path and first major state-built bicycle facility. So you're literally riding a cross-section of Rhode Island history, so from industrial rail line to one of the state's signature recreation corridors, so pretty cool. The path now connects 8 different parks, including India Point, Bold Point, Squantum Woods, Haynes Park, Veterans Memorial Park, Burrs Hill, Colt State Park, and Independence Park, tying together a string of waterfront green spaces. So shout out to the Parks and Rec crew because they're slapping a lot of parks down in Rhode Island. That's awesome. Now, as far as nature goes, this follows the Seekonk River and the... You tried this one, John.
Let me find the notes.
It's the same one I just butchered, but it's the
Narragansett.
See, you make it sound so easy.
Pretty sure it's Narragansett.
It follows that bay with long stretches of open water views, salt marshes, and tidal flats, a mix of urban waterfront, residential neighborhoods, and wooded parkland as you pass through East Providence, Riverside, Barrington, Warren, and into Bristol. So it's got that New England kind of coastal mix of flora. So you got salt marsh grasses and reeds in low-lying shoreline sections. There's also maples, oaks, and pine trees along, the tree line stretches of the areas. And then keep an eye out for shorebirds like herons, egrets, and gulls, as well as ducks and geese.
Man, I've never been to Rhode Island, but I gotta say, the coastline here looks beautiful. There's a cool lighthouse. I
was gonna say, strolling through those photos, like I said,
boats,
this isn't the longest path we've ever taken a look at, but man alive, it's a quality over quantity for sure.
Absolutely, and a lot of cool old school European architecture. Yeah, a lot to enjoy.
That was another thing. There's just a lot of cool stuff worth checking out. So a couple things that jumped out to me: India Point Park, urban waterfront park with the skyline views. It's got a good launch and finish spot with parking and restrooms. It's got easy detours into Fox Point and Wickeden Street for coffee, bakeries, restaurants, things like that. There's also, the path that passes Haynes Memorial Park and Veterans Memorial Park, both with, water access, fields, picnic areas. And then downtown Warren looked really cool. It's a legit mini destination with historic buildings, small town, Main Street, galleries, restaurants, the whole scene there. And then finally, it's some seasonal notes and rider tips if you want to check the area out. Again, New England coastal climate here, so cold winters, humid summers, lots of sea breeze. And, summertime's probably going to be the best time to go. That does mean peak traffic, but classic ocean state vibes. Rhode Island updated e-bike rules on state bike paths in 2025. So recent reporting and new signs along the East Bay bike path specify Class 1 e-bikes only, so pedal assist at 20 miles per hour and no throttle. Check the latest local rules, but as of now, ride your Class 1 here and keep throttles and Class 3s to the roads. Like I said, overall, this was just really packed for like the small little like trail section here. I see why we shouted this one out. Again, thank you so much for the suggestion. I thought it was a really cool little find.
I was going to say, yeah, take a breath after all that, Griffin.
A lot going on in there.
But we always appreciate input from this segment of the show and many others. So as always, let us know down in the comments section if there's anything in your area or places you've been that you want us to talk about. You can email us at questions@electricbikereport.com.
Now it's time for our favorite part of the show where we interact with questions and comments we've received from our audience over the last week, either in our YouTube comments or on our website, electricbikereport.com, and the occasional person who emails us at questions@electricbikereport.com. We got a lot of questions this week comparing bikes, and I think that's where we're starting this time, John.
That is.
So,
what it looks like.
Question from Joel Kuhn, 5704, on the Heybike Ranger 3.0 Pro review, who asks, would you choose this or the XP4 750 watt from Lectric? Pretty straightforward question there.
Pretty straightforward question, and since we have a few comparisons here, we're going to save like a deep dive for later on in this section. So we're just going to kind of hit the highlights in this one and one of the other side-by-sides here. So, basically, anytime we get asked this question, which one would we choose? That answer is probably not going to be helpful for you because, you might have different needs, you might have different budgets. Things that are important to you may not be as important to us.
Conceptually, I'm going to approach this as this or that. Like, this bike is going to be good for these things. That bike's going to be good for these things. That's really the best way we can help you out here. So we'll kind of jump into how we view these two different bikes.
Absolutely, yeah. So basically for the Heybike Ranger 3.0 Pro, we would recommend this bike for those who want the comfort of a full suspension. Now, the XP4 does have a suspension seat post, but it's a little springy as you get from that style usually. So the full suspension on the Ranger is going to be a little bit more plush. You also get the ability to ride up to and beyond 28 miles per hour with either throttle or pedal assist on the Ranger 3.0. There's also just a slightly more stable ride since it has 4-inch wide tires, as well as this bike gives you better traction on dirt or gravel. So if that's appealing to you, we'd steer you to the Ranger for that. It also has the highest possible weight capacity between the two of 440 pounds versus 330. So if you're a heavier rider or looking to carry some gear, although we'll get into that later on, we would steer you there. And then the Ranger approaches speeds a little bit differently. So it does have a torque sensor, but it does have limited speeds in each assist level and the ability to adjust those through the Heybike app. So if that's appealing to you, we'd say that that is a sort of defining characteristic. But then finally, just if you're looking for a bike that has some bolder color options, the XP4 is actually one that sort of branched out when it comes to electric side of things. Like they offered more color options for that bike than most. But
the blues and greens were pretty nice there, but
yeah, the Heybike, it's a little bit more like metallic. There's red, blue, green, and they're all pretty bright and bold. So then on the other hand, the XP4 750, we would say that's best for riders who just generally kind of want the best overall bang for the buck. That bike is even, maxed out there with the 750 watt version, a couple $100 less than the Ranger Pro. But this bike also has the longest range potential and the fastest braking performance between the two bikes. So if performance is, something you're looking for, that, again, best bang for your buck. But then touching back on carrying capacity, so the XP4 has a little bit of a lower capacity, but the cargo rack is actually higher than the Ranger. So if you want the ability to carry a passenger on your bike, that's probably going to be a little bit better. The rack can carry 150 pounds versus 100 pounds on the Heybike. And then the XP4 also gives you the ability to switch between class modes through the display. You don't have to worry about an app with that one. Then there's also unlimited speeds in each assist level. So, if you don't want to have to deal with the app and adjusting things like that, you would probably be happier with the XP4. But
and then just one clarification. When you say unlimited speeds, you mean obviously within the class levels,
yes.
There's just no hard cap, PS1 only goes to 12 or
right,
something like that.
Yeah. So you could theoretically reach 28 in 20 or 28 in any assist level. Cool. Yeah, good point, Griffin. And then finally, just Heybike is definitely an up and coming brand. We've seen a lot of growth from them, but we would steer you towards the XP4 if you just want the reliability and backing of America's #1 selling e-bike brand. Pretty straightforward.
I was like, there's always something with that for sure.
Definitely. But hopefully that helps you. Let us know if you have any other questions. We're always happy to, write back to you individually and address additional things. But that's kind of an overview of the two bikes. But moving on to a question from Archbus on the Urtopia Carbon Classic review that you did on YouTube, Griffin. This person said, I hesitated getting the Pro because the display looked like crap and the handlebar couldn't be replaced. Ordered the Classic, and it's exactly what I want. Just got mine and swapping the handlebar. My main reason getting it is that the battery is easily swappable for longer rides, so I got an extra battery as well. Thanks for the review.
Well, first of all, you're welcome, and thank you so much for your comment. I wanted to highlight this comment this week because I largely agree with some of the points that are being made in there, but I think there's also like a kind of a lesson to learn from it as well. So in that review, I mentioned somewhere how like, the latest tech can be a huge draw for some riders, but it can be an absolute turnoff for like a different crowd, right? Sure. And like Urtopia's like high-tech direction of the Carbon Pro, kind of like their flagship bike, had the ChatGPT stuff, it had that LED dot matrix display. Like it was cool. It was trying something different, but again, that's just like not gonna be for everyone. And it's fair to say that it really it kind of distracted from a really good bike underneath all of that stuff. So that's why I liked the very concept of Urtopia making the Carbon Classic, because it stripped a lot of that away, no bells and whistles. It was just focusing on a super solid carbon e-bike that rode so well and like had great handling, and for only like $2,000, which is really hard to find with carbon construction. For sure. Like it was just, again, the bike finally got to shine. It wasn't so much about like the features on top. Exactly.
Gotcha.
But as for like the other point, I do love that Urtopia kind of has the fancy version and like the simplified version. I do think it's also worth pointing out that a lot of the times when you see those tech or those features, they're often like supplemental to the bike. They're largely optional. On the particular bike in question, the handlebar and the display, like I'll grant you that one. There was that's like a yes or no thing. But a lot of the time, like apps, some of the features, things like that, if that's just not who you are as a person, you can usually ignore them. My own bike comes with a great app. I don't use it every time I ride, though. It's not like ingrained into the process. So just remember, if you do see a lot of those fancy features and that's not for you, just take a closer look if you can still just enjoy the bike without it, because oftentimes there's just really good bikes underneath.
That's a good point. I usually try to point that out in my review because I understand, especially thinking about like my grandparents, if they would be looking at an e-bike, they would probably be very turned off by having too many overwhelming, features and options and that sort of thing. So it can definitely be a draw if something is a little bit more simple and approachable and easier to grasp.
And I'm glad you kind of like brought up that demographic, because I remember like my own like in-laws who like they're getting ready for retirement and stuff like that. They bought a couple of e-bikes. They're looking forward to it. It had apps, and they're like, okay, like help me with the app. I gotta get signed up here. I gotta do this. Like, what do I do for setup? And it's like, okay, we're gonna do this like one time.
Yeah.
And then I know you guys just like aren't on your phones like a whole lot. Like, don't worry about it. You don't have to do this. Like, it's here. It'll do like an over-the-air update. Check it every so often, but like don't worry about it. Turn on your bike, turn on the pedal assist, go out for a ride, go have a good time. So
very well said.
Yep.
Awesome.
All right, moving on to our next one though. This comes to us from Luis Pinto on the Fiido Nomads review, who says, between this bike and the Tenways Ego X, what would look like to be the best overall option?
Good question again. So we're going to kind of do the same breakdown, just kind of touching on highlights here. Now, Griffin, you did the Nomads review. So
yes, sir.
Yeah, I'll just let you kind of run through the highlights for that bike since you're a little bit more familiar with it than I am.
Yeah, sure thing. So when it came to these two bikes, they've got some similarities, but some pretty stark differences as well. So starting things with the Nomad, to anybody watching this from the EU, a bike going 15 miles per hour is not going to seem strange in the slightest, but for us here in the States, that is slower, where most bikes do go 20 miles per hour. So that is like the thing up front to know, but for that very same reason, if you're looking for just like a little boost or something like that, you don't need a ton of speed. That is the type of crowd that I'm going to like this bike for. Obviously, if you're in the EU, there's nothing different. It's another great option for you that you can take a look into. But again, and I don't want to like pigeonhole an entire generation here, but a lot of like the senior riders that I do talk to and like in my neighborhood, when I'm like, how much like pedal assist do you use? They're often like, pedal assist 2 or 3. They're usually not going full bore anywhere. It's usually around 15 miles per hour. Yeah. So potentially that like, slower speed, a little bit more control might be appealing to you. I also like this for people with fitness goals in mind. It uses a very like subtle 250 watt rear hub motor. Don't get me wrong. It still takes a load off. That's the like magic of e-bikes, but like comparatively to other bikes, it's a little bit more on the gentle like power side. So if you do want something, you got fitness goals in mind, you want to be out there riding, you just need a little push, it's another one that will be appealing to that crowd. And finally, if you've got big time touring aspirations, this is one of the cheapest bikes that you are going to find for a triple battery setup, which is just crazy. So you don't run 3 simultaneously. You have a main, but you can actually select an option that sends you 2 spare batteries and like a rack extension, basically, where it and insulated battery bags. So you can store those batteries off the back of your bike. You can get tons and tons and tons of riding in. It's also really nice too because with that extension, it doesn't actually obstruct from the rear rack. So it's, again, a setup I like a lot if you got big touring aspirations in mind.
Awesome. Thanks for running through that.
For sure.
I got to say, like, that, even the base model for like $1,300 is kind of mind blowing. That's a great deal. But yeah, the Pedego X from Tenways is also a great deal, especially right now. That bike is on clearance. So we'll touch on a couple other things here. But basically, this one of the main differences here is that this bike has a mid-drive versus rear hub motor there. And it is just going to give you that really natural bike-like feel. It feels like riding an analog bike, just a little bit faster, a little bit easier. And right now it's priced below $2,000, which is an excellent deal on really any mid-drive e-bike. Let alone one with this much sort of versatility and flexibility. So this one gives you the ability to reach 20 miles per hour, which, making it a class 1 e-bike here in the US. So if you do want to ride a little bit faster, then this would be something that we steer you toward. But then we'd probably recommend the Pedego X if you want something that's maybe a little bit more compact, a little bit more upright, that comes set up for street riding, but still gives you plenty of off-road potential. That would require probably swapping out at least the tires, but otherwise, this bike is super well equipped as well. It comes with nice wide 770 millimeter handlebars, so very good steering control, very good balance, and then it also comes with a 10-speed Shimano TWR drivetrain, which we don't see super often on e-bikes, just period. So it's nice to have that here. But then kind of finally, we'd steer you towards the Pedego X if you want something that just kind of looks really unique. Tenways really just has their own unique design style. And then this bike has a wider variety of color options because the Nomads is limited to just one. Hopefully that, again, helps you out. Let us know what you decide to go with if you do purchase a bike. But in any case, next one is from last week's episode of the show from USN USA. Very simple question here. Why are bikes under embargo?
That was straightforward and to the point and kind of relevant because we had to talk about another embargo this week. So almost every single time it's under embargo because the product has not been announced to the public yet. Now we do have really awesome brand partners that we work with who want to send us these products in advance so that we can work on our review to get that either live at launch or right around the same time so that you have an informed decision as soon as that bike is available to go and make a purchase if it looks like it lines up for you based on our testing data and based on our input and analysis. So as much as we would love to spill more details about it, really the best we can do is to just give you a little hint of we had a bike, we'll say if it's from somebody new or it's a pretty established one, but that's really about as much detail as we can get into. We've signed our life away, and if we let more slip than that, then we're in a lot of trouble. But,
don't want to get into any legal troubles.
So again, we like to leave just little teasers, and the best way to find out what those things are, of course, is to be subscribed, and don't forget to have that notification bell engaged as well. That makes sure you do get alerted. It's a little step beyond just the subscribe button there. And of course, if it is a bike we're allowed to announce early or something like that, when we get in for testing, we do just come straight out with that. Oh, hey, we got this bike. It's new from this brand. We will give you all the details we're allowed to. But again, that's just kind of how it works with embargo in the industry.
More often than not, though, it's really hard for us to not talk about it. It's, things are very exciting, especially when they're new and there's a lot of new features and tech and stuff. So
I think we've probably had one or two takes we had to redo because I was oh, it's kind of like that new. Oh, wait, I can't talk about that one yet. Just kidding.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
All right. But then moving on to our final question. This is from Dwayne Ward 7674 on the AIMA Santa Monica review that John did, who says, I'm curious as to how this bike compares to the Velotric Discover 2. They appear to be very similar in specs.
Yeah, so this one we chose to do sort of our deep dive in for the week just because you're absolutely right. These bikes are super similar. They are both some of, in our opinion, the best bikes of their category that are out there. I tested both of them. So Griffin, I guess I'll give you the Discover 2 if that's all right.
I'm a little more familiar with that one. That's great.
That makes sense. So yeah, we'll just kind of run through some highlights, some big takeaways. We'll run through the testing data for each bike, and then I'll kind of round things out with some recommendations for who I'd recommend each bike for. But just, straight up, both of these bikes are incredibly comfortable. They're great for commuting as well as leisure riding, and they're just generally very well put together. So I would say that at the end of this, if you go with either one, you're going to be pretty happy. So
as a reminder, whenever we do the deep dive comparisons, because they're too worth buying, we never do the this one's great, this one's terrible, because the answer is really easy. Go get the
Exactly.
great one, not the terrible one. But these ones are good ones to dive into.
For sure. So starting off with some highlights for the AIMA Santa Monica. This is just a super peppy and responsive cruiser. Even the lowest power level, there's 5 pedal assist settings. It just gives you a lot of pedal assist. So it has a torque sensor alone, so you get a pretty active feel pedaling, but it's powerful enough that it just makes that very fun, very easy, and very rewarding as well. So the Santa Monica is also kind of touching back to what we were talking about earlier about bikes that have tech versus bikes that don't. This is a little bit more of a straightforward and approachable e-bike, just doesn't have an app to connect to. It doesn't have a ton of customization options. So if you're looking for something that's pretty basic right out of the gate, this is definitely something we would steer you towards. It's also super well equipped without feeling overloaded. It's got integrated lights, fenders, turn signals, and MIK HD cargo racks. You can actually equip that with a child seat as well as a bunch of other locking, storage, and cargo accessories. And it also has an electronic horn module. But this bike also just visually has a little bit more of a classic design, kind of more classic beach cruiser style. And then this one is only available through dealers. So then any adjustments to the bike's speed has to be done by an authorized technician. So that's just something to keep in mind with this bike. But then move into the Discover 2.
So on the Discover 2 sides of things, this is one of the most customizable e-bikes that we've tested. So it offers both torque and cadence sensors. You get 3 different power modes, 5 levels of assist per mode. And of course, you have like the options to change how the throttle functions, how the brake lights work even more. So again, like all the customization is really in your hands. And it also rides great out of the box too if you don't want to mess with all that stuff, just for whatever it's worth.
For sure, yeah.
So riders can adjust settings and speeds through the display or the Velotric app. So it also offers pedal assist ranging from extremely light and natural, where you do most of the work, to just extremely easy and relaxed, where the motor's doing most of the heavy lifting. It has a handful of uncommon features as well. It does integrate Apple Find My into the bike. It has a cruise control mode and a payload capacity up to 440 pounds, one of the higher ones for the cruiser category. This one is a little bit more like sleek and contemporary though. It's got that like cruiser DNA. It's like a really good cruiser, commuter, like whatever hybrid.
Yeah.
And then, it's got really nice color options as well. It's something we really liked about Velotric models. Good colors. They really pop. They look great.
Yep.
And then there are tons of options for the pedal assist system. There's also a fair amount of overlap between some of the different modes, but we do understand that there's a lot of riders out there who do appreciate those subtle differences. So again, you can kind of like toggle with and play this, really find the power level that works for you, or switch it up from time to time depending on where you're riding in the terrain.
Or how much exercise you want to get, that sort of thing.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, that was the highlights. Let's talk about some test performance stuff. So starting off in our speed test. So both of these bikes are class 2 and class 3 capable. Again, the Santa Monica here, you have to make that adjustment through the dealership, but it gives you a pretty high baseline of power output. So when we tested it, the bike speeds kind of clustered together a little bit in class 2 mode, kind of reaching that 20 mile per hour ceiling fairly early. But then in class 3 mode, they were a little bit more evenly distributed.
And then over on the Discover 2, again, both torque and cadence sensing modes here. Speeds are more evenly distributed in class 2 on the torque mode, but in very similar in the class 3 mode. In cadence mode, there are 5 preset speed limits that you do run into there.
And nice gradual bumps between them.
Yeah, definitely.
In the range test side of things, the Santa Monica has a 720 watt hour battery, and that gave us 32 and 56 miles.
And the Discover 2 has a slightly smaller battery, 706 watt hours, but actually went further, going 41 and 86 miles in our testing.
And that kind of just ties back to, again, the Santa Monica having a pretty high baseline of power output. But in our hill test, Santa Monica came in at 1 minute and 54 seconds on throttle, and then 1 minute and 49 seconds using PAS5.
And then the Discover 2 had a 2 minute and 7 second throttle and 1 minute 47 using pedal assist. So
clearly just as powerful, if not more, in the high mode. So, in our brake test, though, the Santa Monica came in at 21 feet and 11 inches for an average stopping distance.
And then the Discover 2 came in at 21.7. I believe the all-bike average is currently at 22. So both are on the better side of the average.
Absolutely. So then just kind of rounding all of this stuff out with our recommendations. So we would say that the Santa Monica is best for those who prefer a little bit more of that simplified experience, as well as those who enjoy active pedaling, but you don't want to maybe work too hard at it. This is also best for riders who don't plan to make frequent speed adjustments because of the dealership side of things. So, this is also for you if you prefer to go through a brick and mortar store. But then it's also, probably more ideal for you if you like that sort of classic beach cruiser style.
Agreed. And then the Discover 2 side of things is going to be more ideal for people who want and value lots of customization options or the interconnectedness of having a mobile app as well, or for people who want to be able to switch between active and low effort pedaling. You can kind of, again, pick your own pace, pick your own speed there. If you're looking for the longest range potential, it was a little bit going up further distance than we saw in the AIMA Santa Monica. And then if you prefer a slightly more streamlined design and like bolder color choices, is going to be probably the pick for you if you're big into the aesthetic. And then last but not least, if you like the cost savings that come from ordering direct to consumer, this could just be the choice for you if you don't have an AIMA dealer near you. But again, you get a little cost savings and they can ship this bike to your door.
For sure. Again, you can't go wrong with either of these, but they have a lot of overlap, but they are very different as well. So hopefully you got something out of that. But as always, let us know if there's bikes you want us to compare. Let us know if you have any other questions down below on our individual reviews, or that email again, questions@electricbikereport.com. Griffin, do you remember Black Fridays of old where everyone rushed to the store and had to fight each other?
Oh, camping out in Best Buy lines trying to get a DVD for like $4. Yep,
that's right.
I remember them days.
Fortunately, we don't have to do that anymore. So we're going to talk about some deals of the week. Deals of the week. And in this case, it's kind of deals of the year, really.
Oh, pretty much, yeah, 100%. Just so people know, I even want to like jazz this one up and like change up our deals of the week snap. I was like, let's get the rights to like some Black Sabbath songs, put those in here, like,
going off the rails.
Black Sabbath, Black Friday, I don't know. But
Black Friday
sadly,
deals.
I can't afford the rights to that. Anywho.
Anyway, yeah, if you couldn't tell, Black Friday is coming up, and this is, one of the biggest times when it comes to e-bike sales. Yep. So we had a Black Friday video going up today when this video goes live, so definitely check that out. For sure. And then kind of running through everything here, you can definitely check our website. There's a page over there that we are going to keep up to date as the week progresses, as the season progresses.
Going to be updating that daily until all the sales stop, so you can look there for the latest and greatest. John and I thought we'd just highlight some of the main bikes that we're seeing that are stuff that we're going to be suggesting to our own, like people in our own like social circles and things like that.
Yep.
So leading things off here, one of the better deals out there is the Lectric XP4 750 watt. So Lectric's prices are already like rock bottom. You can't really discount that. So they throw in these awesome accessory packages that's just cherry on top of a great bike. So this, the XP4 750 comes with $514 in free accessories. Really awesome there. So that's $1,299 for this bike. And 6 things: you get the phone mount, bike lock, a upgraded fast charger, the level up rack, elite headlight, and a suspension seat post all thrown in. So that is like really awesome value there on one of the best bikes that you can find.
Yeah, killer deal at $1,299. Next up, we've got the Event Level 3, both the high step and step through models. They are $200 off. And, if you've been watching this show regularly, we have talked about the Level 3 kind of ad nauseum. It's an incredibly good deal and an incredible bike, period.
Behind the scenes, John keeps teasing that he might go and buy this like himself. Now it's $200 off. I'm going to see if he puts his money where his mouth is.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how things go. Regular price for this bike is $1,899, so $200 off brings it down to $1,699. This, again, if you're not familiar with it, though, has an incredible security system that you're not really going to find on other bikes at this price point. So there's a wheel and battery lock, and then through the Event app, you can tune the motor output. And with a subscription service that you get for free for the first year, you get access to an alarm system, a motion detection feature, a remote disabling feature, geofencing, a bunch of other stuff. It's just a tremendous deal and a tremendous bike, again.
Absolutely. And then the next one that caught my eye, Ride One Up's Rev 1 FS, the full suspension model, is $400 off right now. That is one of the top moped style e-bikes out there. Really cool looking, like kind of like cafe style, like moto vibe. That is discounted from $2,495 down to $2,095. It's only $100 more than the hardtail, so that's like a really, really appealing option. Jeez. And if you want to go for even the fancier, more premium version, the Rev DRT, which has upgraded suspension, dual crown fork, and like coil suspension, that's $300 off down to $2,295. Either of those are really good. I might like the value of the FS just a little more, but if you're doing any off-roading, the DRT is definitely worth checking out.
And they all have the full suspension and dirt have the same motor. So nice. And
same motor,
punchy.
got a lot of the same bones, but some of the features, a little more differentiation there. But either one, good price.
For sure. And then moving on to Fat Tire e-bike from Velotric, the Nomad 1 Plus. So this is kind of the upgraded version of their sort of original fat tire e-bike. This is $650 off, and then you get a free cargo rack that's worth $69. So this bike is currently priced at $1,249. It's got a nice, friendly cadence sensing pedal assist system, nice, powerful motor, very comfortable, stable ride, and colorful frame options. And just across the board did a great job in our testing. So one of our most recommended, if you're looking for a fat tire bike on the more affordable side.
And then, of course, at Black Friday, it's a really good time to score on like last generation models. That's when they're seeing the steepest discounts, and that's true of Mach Wheels Basalt Generation 1. So that is discounted $400 off the bike. Plus, you get 10 free accessories, which Mach Wheels says has a value of $699. So that's like, what, $1,100 or something in value right there. Yeah. So this bike is currently priced at just $1,299, which is fantastic value. 750 watt motor with an 1100 watt peak. It's got great power. One of the faster hill climbers we've seen. Of course, the 4-inch fat tires, a 450 pound weight capacity. And what I love about this one, it's not like a ton of differences between the 1.0 model and the 2.0. There are some features, don't get me wrong, but I think the very like base ride of what you're doing, largely the same, and that's a good thing and a compliment, meaning you can just for like $1,300 get a great product.
And that's also compatible with the solar charging panels and the power inverter that lets you use the bike's battery to power and charge stuff.
One of the cool tricks they're known for, 100%.
Very cool. All right, and then rounding things out for this section is the Lectric Expedition 2, specifically the long-range dual battery version, which is just really one of the best value cargo e-bikes on the market. This one, well, kind of like Griffin said earlier with the XP4, Lectric's prices are already just kind of rock bottom, so they're making up for that by adding $893 in free accessories. So the price for this bike is $1999. Again, that includes the dual battery setup with the high capacity.
That's 35 amp hours for those who are wondering. That's a ton of battery.
Pretty sure they advertise this with a range of up to like 180 miles, if I remember right.
Like that.
We tested the lower spec version. But anyway, this package comes with a ton of accessories that you would normally have to add on top of a purchase if you are looking at a bike from most other brands. So this one has an orbiter, which is sort of like a handrail attachment for kids. There's extra large pannier bags. There's running boards that come with the bike, seat cushions, a fast charger, your elite headlight, and then a suspension seat post. So pretty snazzy deal and a great bike overall. You can absolutely check out our reviews for any of these bikes, but that does it for Deals of the Week.
So a show like this is only possible with a great audience such as yourselves. So as a way of saying thank you, we always like to highlight a writer from one of our commenters throughout the week. John, who do we have this week?
This week we have Kyle Halverson-D3V, who commented on last week's episode of the show. And so last week in our trail section, we talked about the city of Minneapolis, Minnesota, but then also specifically the Grand Rounds National Scenic Byway. And Kyle here referenced a part of that. He said, I live in Minneapolis. I ride Worth all the time. So that's a segment of the Scenic Byway there. He said it's fantastic. Riding along the Mississippi is another stellar ride lately as the leaves are changing and all is very picturesque. Very bike friendly here. So short and sweet, to the point. Really just appreciate you writing in, Kyle. Thank you very much. And anybody out there listening, well, actually, sorry, pause. Kyle, you got a t-shirt for being highlighted on the show this week. So again, go down to the video description box. There's a link there where you can send us your information so we can get a t-shirt to you. And then anybody else who has won, do the same, please. But if you want us to highlight you potentially in the future, as always, drop us comments here or email us at questions@electricbikeport.com.
As always, thank you so much for following along with John and I and spending some of your time with us. We really do look forward to doing the show every week, and we hope you enjoy it as well. And, happy preparations for Thanksgiving coming up for those of us here in the United States. Hopefully you're going to have some fun holiday things going on. And as a reminder, we've got all of our Black Friday content, anything else going on that we can help you with, stay informed on all things e-bikes. Well, we're here for you.
That's right. You can hang out with us throughout this holiday season as we keep you up to date. But, thanks for hanging out with us. Do all the YouTube things, like, share, comment, subscribe. Check out our audio form podcasts on, Apple Music and Spotify.
That's right.
And, just enjoy the time with your family if you're hanging out with them. Eat some good food. Take advantage of those good deals. But we'll catch you on next week's episode of The Weekly Recharge.
All right, number 3. Which e-bike component converts battery power into the power? Cut that one out, Bruno. We're going to try that again.
Question 3.